Joel Meyers, who, of course, is the voice of the New Orleans Pelicans that you can catch throughout the television coverage throughout the season. It's a pleasure to welcome you back. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing okay. Doing okay. It's good to hear your voice. How do you feel about the resumption here in a little over a month as we sit and talk on June 22nd?
Well, I think fortunately we have time. As you said, it's the 22nd, and the first game is not going to be until the 30th of July. And there's plenty of time for even better developments, more developments on the research side, science side, and as we find out more, hopefully, little by little, we find out more about a virus we know very little about. But fortunately, the league is going to, the extent that they are, and they can't really ask these guys to come back and play if they don't. They are going to be in basically a protective bubble. So it's going to be a healthy, clean, safe environment. And there's going to be protocol, and there's going to be guys that are going to police other guys. When people say, well, what about guys that possibly leave the bubble? Well, I think there's going to be some peer pressure, too. If you really want what we all want as a group, and Bob, you know that there's so many more guys even in football than in basketball, I think these guys are going to be with a purpose as a group. And they're going to take care of each other and remind each other we got to stay safe, sound, healthy. So I think that the league is on the right path, but I still think there's plenty of time to do more.
There's $1 billion, over $1 billion at stake here, and it's a big, enormous push, obviously, to the economy. Do you think that it's worth it?
Well, absolutely worth it, because we can't stop completely. Mm-hmm. Now, we can control certain things, but we can't stop completely what we're doing. And we're taking every safety measure possible right now. Forget about basketball. I'm just talking about all of us in everyday life. And so we can't completely shut our lives down. And you brought up the economy and how it impacts everything with $1 billion at stake. There's even more at stake for the subsequent seasons down the road with the players, the cap and the players' share of the revenues and the BRIs, the basketball-related income. So we're not asking for anybody to be there. I think it's going to be a pretty clean, safe environment for the most part. Is that as far as we know right now? That's why I say we still have 38 days before they even convene in Orlando. So there may be more measures that we find out about over the next 5 weeks. So yeah, I think it's worth it to get back together as a group. We're not going to be normal until there's a vaccine, until research and science are ahead of this. So even if it's just like I watched golf over the weekend, they're doing everything possible. Nick Watney had it, and they found that out, but he had it before he even got there. He said it had been 3 or 4 days that he had felt this way. Well, the NBA is going to the extremes of the ring that can detect it 72 hours beforehand, if there's anything like it. So there's going to be a lot of things that are going to develop between now and the 30th of July, and hopefully all good and positive.
Talking to Joel Meyers, voice of the Pelicans, here on Off the Bench. Joel, one more kind of off the court before we ask you about the Pelicans returning on the court. With the social movement that's currently going on and Black Lives Matter, DeMario Davis is at the forefront of this, and he was joined by J.J. Redick and Lonzo Ball on that player leadership council. Do you have any insight into how this Pelicans team, like where their attitudes are at in terms of returning to play while all this is going on, the protests?
Well, let me just say that I'm a little bit older than you guys. This is without a doubt the saddest time I've seen. Outside of your immediate family, outside of my mom and dad are no longer here, but outside of losing my parents and one of my brothers, this is by far the saddest time. So I'm glad to see, if anything, it's bringing everybody together. Actually, I asked if I could be on a coalition for the Saints and the Pelicans, and I want to help change. I think that's the positive that could come out of this, because too often it's lip service, and then it's forgotten about, and there isn't change. So there's developments going on airlines that are all good, and the Saints and Pelicans, Pelicans and Saints, you're going to hear about things that are developing there that are all good for change. That's all. I think we are all on the same page there.
Yeah.
We need change. We really do as a country. Our culture, our environment, and our way of thinking more than anything else.
Now, Joel, let's talk about on the court, because for me, I love the NBA. I've been desperately missing it. I just miss sports. I cannot wait for this team to get back. You're going to have a healthy J.J. Redick, a team that seemed like it was trending in the absolute right position when everything got suspended. I'll start here. What have they been doing? Like, how confident do you think the players inside that locker room are going into this final 8-game stretch?
Well, I think they feel good. You know how it is with chemistry, and it was developing for them in a big way. And there was the trust factor that you need in any team sport. So, and they actually appreciate each other to the point where we were, guys, and I don't know if you got them down in Baton Rouge, I hope you did, the replays of all the games we were having, which was, we had them on Fox Sports New Orleans once or twice a week. And the one thing that I noticed was the way the guys on the bench would really cheer the success of their teammates. And you know, when a guy succeeds on the floor, the guy sitting on the bench may not get in. He may not get the minutes and the reps that he thinks he's going to get because the other guy has succeeded. But they share in that, and they want their teammates to succeed. And that's not always the case. So it's a real good situation in the locker room because all of these guys, for the most part, besides Drew, Derek Favors, and you bring up JJ, all of these guys demographically are right next to each other. There's a ton of guys that are between 19, 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
They make up the bulk of the roster. So they can relate to each other, and they're developing a bond. It's really, there's going to be a brotherhood in that locker room. It's a real good situation what's going on right now.
So if I were to ask you, so the Pelicans go into these final 8 games, they're 3.5 back from Memphis. They have to try to at least finish within 4 games of that A seed while fending off all other comers. Who is the single most important player to making that a reality and having the Pelicans win that battle for the A seed?
I think it's kind of a toss-up. If you were to take a player for the Pelicans that would have the most impact, either it'd be Lonzo or Brandon, not Zion, because Zion doesn't have the ball. So Lonzo, who's got the ball, is going to dictate the tempo and kind of orchestrate and facilitate. And then Brandon, who was starting to come back to what we saw for the first 25, 30 games of the year, where he was just a potent scorer. The first game, believe it or not, against Sacramento, if they pick it up like everybody has said they're going to pick it up, the first game against Sacramento is going to tell us a lot because the teams are identical in the loss column, 3 back in the loss column behind Memphis. And then they have 2 with San Antonio, and San Antonio is missing a guy that was guaranteed 25 and 10 every time he faced the Pels, LaMarcus Aldridge. So there's some positives going in for the Pels. They had the momentum. They really like working together as a group, so I think they're going to have that chemistry once again. And they have the San Antonio Spurs twice. They start with Sacramento, but they've got the Spurs twice. They're going to have the Grizzlies, who they've already beaten twice. So they'll know after the first game. Every game, guys, is a playoff game.
Yep,
That's why it's so important for the Pels to be there, because these are reps you can't duplicate in a practice or regular season game. Now the playoffs start. All 8 games are like playoff games. These are really good for a young team.
Did you have a favorite? Who was the best team you saw this season before it got suspended?
Well, the team that's the mystery team is Portland.
Yes.
Because it's backcourt, and now they get back Zach Collins, who's a stretch 4, and they get back Yusuf Nurkic, who's a bull. So they have Whiteside, a rim protector, and then Nurkic, who's totally different than Whiteside, at the 5 spot, and they get the stretch 4 back, who they lost in the first week of the season with shoulder surgery. So they're the mystery team. They're the wild card. And unfortunately for the Pels, they were like 1/1000th of a percentage point ahead of the Pels because it was an odd number of games. They had 1 more loss, but they also had 1 more win than the Pels. So, but they're the mystery team as far as I'm concerned.
Big Z in his last 10 games was averaging 25 points in 32 minutes, 2 assists, and 7 boards. Was he about to break out?
Oh, I think he already did.
Yeah. Do you
Everybody
think that
knows.
continues? Do you think he can keep that momentum going into Orlando?
By the way, guys, all reports I've got, he is in great shape.
I love that.
He's really taking care of himself, and I'm not surprised. He's a dedicated man. He's really, for his age, he is unbelievably mature at 19 years of age. He turns 20. Hard to believe. It's about a month away. It's in July.
Hey.
But he's composed. He's poised. He's not 19. It's wild how mature he is.
Any idea what they're going to do with you guys, with the media on the bubble? What's going to happen with the television and radio crews?
It'll be off monitors. That's my guess.
Yeah.
That we'll stay put. And I've done things off monitors before, way back when. So it's not a big deal to me. What I hope doesn't happen is I hope they don't feed in crowd noise. I hope
really?
we hear. Yeah, because I hope we hear the ball bouncing, the squeak of the sneakers. And another thing, that when I'm in a gym and nobody's there over its practice, guys that aren't on the floor are helping guys on the floor. See, the guys that aren't on the floor, and you see those guys jumping up and down for their teammates, which is great, but at the same time, they can also say back door, or they can holler blitz, or ice, or they can give them help. And I think we're going to hear that as well with the good teams, the teams that are really helping out, and the guys that care about each other. So I want to hear that too, because that's part of chemistry. That's helping your teammate when you're not in the game, but there's no crowd noise. There's no exterior noise of whatever kind of sound they pump in with hands clapping, or you know what I'm talking about, the beat of a drum to get defense going. Well, great. Now we can hear the teams that really care about each other. You can hear guys are going to be heard. It should be really interesting from that standpoint, and I hope that's the case. I really am crossing my fingers, guys. They don't pump in noise. We don't need that.
No. The legend, it's great to hear from you this morning. Thank you for the time, and stay healthy, sir.
Always enjoy it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
There he
Joel.
is, Joel Meyers checking in.